It started last week, just a normal Tuesday. I was at the mall doing some last-minute Christmas shopping and nature called. You know how it is. Went into the public restroom near the food court, the usual kind of place, kind of smelly, floor a bit sticky, the hand dryer louder than a jet engine. I'm doing my business in one of the stalls when I see it, scribbled on the back of the stall door. Just a set of numbers, nothing else. At first, I didn't think much of it. Probably some random phone number, or maybe just someone bored with a pen. But something about it caught my eye. It wasn't a phone number, it was too long, and it was definitely not random scribbles. It was written neatly, almost deliberately in black marker right under the metal latch. I squinted at it. 42, 70 coordinates, latitude and longitude. Weird, right? Like who writes GPS coordinates in a public bathroom stall? I took a picture with my phone just in case. Figured maybe I could look them up later out of curiosity. Finished up, washed my hands, and forgot about it for a day or two. Then, on Thursday, I was bored at work. Slow day, nothing much happening. Remembered the picture on my phone, and on a whim, I typed the coordinates into Google Maps. Hit search and the map zoomed out, then zoomed in again. The location popped up, somewhere in the middle of nowhere in the woods, about an hour's drive from my town. No roads marked right there, just trees and green space on the map. Curiosity got the better of me, I admit it. I'm a sucker for weird stuff, always have been. Urban legends, creepy stories, you name it. And finding coordinates in a bathroom stall just felt like the start of something. Stupid, maybe, but I couldn't shake it. So Saturday morning, I told my roommate I was going for a hike in the state park, half-truth. Packed a backpack with some water and snacks, and drove out towards the coordinates. The drive was longer than I expected, got off the highway, then onto smaller and smaller roads until I was basically on a dirt track. No cell service out there, which was a bit unnerving, but I had downloaded offline maps, thankfully. The last part was rough. The dirt track ended at a closed gate with a faded no trespassing sign, but it looked old, like no one had bothered with it in years. I parked the car on the side of the track and kept going on foot. The woods were thick, really quiet, and the air was cold and damp. Felt like I was stepping into one of those horror movies where you just know something bad is gonna happen. I followed the GPS on my phone, pushing through branches and bushes. It took about half an hour of hiking to reach the exact coordinates. When I got there, it was nothing at first. Just more trees, undergrowth, dead leaves on the ground. I was starting to think I'd wasted my time, that it was all just a prank or something. Then I saw it, partially hidden behind a thicket of bushes, almost like someone had tried to conceal it. It was a small wooden structure. Not a cabin, not a shed, more like I don't know what to call it. It was maybe 6 feet tall, made of rough-hewn planks of wood, nailed together crudely. No windows, just a single heavy wooden door, also made of planks with a rusty iron latch. It looked old, weathered, like it had been there for a very long time. My heart started pounding in my chest. This wasn't some random hiker shelter. This felt intentional and creepy as hell. I hesitated for a moment, wondering if I should just turn around and go home. But the curiosity, that stupid, gnawing curiosity, was too strong. I pushed aside the bushes and walked up to the structure. The wood was rough and cold to the touch. The air around it felt colder too, even though it was the same temperature as everywhere else in the woods. I reached for the latch, my hand shaking slightly. It was stiff and rusty, but it moved with a loud grating screech that echoed in the silent woods. The door creaked open, just a crack at first, then wider as I pushed it. The inside was pitch black. Couldn't see a thing. It smelled stale and earthy like old dirt, and something else I couldn't quite place. Something slightly metallic. Not pleasant. I pulled out my phone, turned on the flashlight, and pointed it inside. The beam cut through the darkness, revealing the interior. It was small, maybe 10 feet by 10 feet, dirt floor, no windows, just the wooden walls and a low, slanting roof. And in the center of the room, there was a circle drawn on the dirt floor. Not with paint, but scraped into the earth, a rough, uneven circle about 5 feet across. And inside the circle were bones, animal bones, I think. Skulls and ribs, leg bones all scattered inside the circle. Some were bleached white, others were darker, almost black with dirt. They looked old, very old, but there were a lot of them. Too many to be just random animal remains. And then I saw something else tucked amongst the bones. something that made my blood run cold. A small, crudely made doll, made of sticks and cloth scraps tied together with twine, was lying face down amongst the bones, its stick-like arms outstretched. It was disturbing, like something out of a horror movie. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. This wasn't just some weird find. This felt wrong, deeply, profoundly wrong, like I had stumbled into something I wasn't supposed to see, something dark and secret. I backed out of the structure, heart racing, slammed the wooden door shut, and fumbled with the rusty latch to close it again. I didn't want to be in there anymore, didn't want to be near it. I turned and ran, stumbling through the woods, back towards the dirt track and my car. Didn't stop running until I was back on the main road, cell service bars popping back up on my phone. Now I'm home safe, but I can't shake the feeling. The image of that little wooden structure, the circle of bones, the creepy doll, it's stuck in my head. I don't know what it was. Some kind of weird ritual site, some creepy kids playing in the woods, or something darker. I haven't told anyone about this. Not even my roommate. I'm scared too. Scared of what it might mean. Scared that maybe I shouldn't have gone there. Scared that maybe, just maybe, someone is watching now, knowing I found their secret place. Do I just forget about it and pretend it never happened? Do I go back? Part of me wants to go back, to try and understand what it was, to find out more. But another part of me is screaming to stay as far away as possible. I'm seriously freaked out and I don't know what to do next. Any advice? It was late one night, couldn't sleep, and for some dumb reason I got curious about the dark web. I know, stupid idea number one. I'd read some stuff online, creepy stories, urban legends, the usual internet fodder. Figured, hey, let's take a peek, see what all the fuss is about. Downloaded Tor, fired it up, and started poking around. It's weird, man, that place. Like the internet, but off. Everything feels shady and wrong, even the stuff that looks normal. Spent a while just clicking links, mostly ending up on dead pages or forums with weird names and even weirder topics. Drug kits, hit services, probably fake, hopefully, all the usual dark web cliches. Then I stumbled across this forum. Seemed pretty innocuous at first, called something like a Deep Thoughtsa or Unseen Realities generic, right? But the posts were different. Not the usual talk or illegal crap. More like philosophical but twisted. People talking about surveillance, about control, about how everything is connected and watched. Paranoid stuff, but written in a way that actually made you think. I lurked for a bit, reading the threads. Some of it was just rambling nonsense, but some of it felt like the people there knew something I didn't, like they were seeing the world in a way I wasn't. Stupidly, I decided to create an account and join in. Username was just something random, Observer707070 or something like that. Didn't use my real name, obviously. Started posting in a few threads, mostly just asking questions, trying to understand what they were talking about. And then, this one guy replied to one of my posts. Username was a specter. Sounded edgy, I know, but his posts were different. More articulate, more focused. He seemed to know a lot about everything they were discussing, but in a practical, almost technical way. We started messaging each other on the forum, just chatting at first. He asked me about my interests, what I did, stuff like that. I kept it vague, didn't give him any real info, just general stuff. He seemed interested in technology, in privacy, and how governments and corporations were tracking everything we do online. I was into that stuff too, so we had some common ground. Then he started asking more specific questions. What kind of computer I used, what operating system, what browser. Red flags should have gone up, right? But I was being dumb, too caught up in the conversation. Told him I used Windows, Chrome, nothing special. He asked about my security software, my firewall. Again, I answered stupidly. Looking back, it's so obvious what he was doing. He was profiling me, gathering information. But at the time, I just thought he was curious, maybe trying to help me improve my online security. He even offered to help me secure my connection, whatever that meant. I politely declined, said I was good. Should have stopped there, but I didn't. We kept talking. He started sending me links to articles, to websites, to tools that could help me protect myself. Again, red flags, but I ignored them. Clicked on a couple of the links. They seemed like normal tech websites talking about VPNs and encryption. Didn't think anything of it. Then things started to get weird. One day I was browsing the internet, just normal stuff, and my computer started acting up. Slow, glitchy, programs freezing. Then my webcam light flickered on for a second, then off. I freaked out, covered the webcam with tape immediately. Felt like I was being watched. Later that day, I heard from Spectre on the forum. Just one word. Hello, sent at the exact time my webcam flickered. My blood ran cold. I knew right then and there that he was behind it. He had hacked me. Somehow, through those links or just through our conversations, he had gotten into my computer. I panicked, unplugged my computer from the internet, powered it down. Felt like throwing the whole thing out the window, but I needed to figure out what was going on. I booted up my laptop, connected through a public Wi-Fi, and logged back into the forum. DM'd Spectre. What the hell was that? He replied almost instantly. Just checking in, he wrote back, I'm making sure you're safe and secure, followed by a smiley face. A smiley face. I felt sick to my stomach. This wasn't just some prank. This guy was seriously messed up. Over the next few days, things got worse. Weird things started happening online and offline. My social media accounts started showing strange activity, likes and follows on pages I'd never heard of. My email was full of spam, more than usual, targeted stuff, like he knew what I was interested in. Then, the offline stuff started. I'd see a car parked down the street, same car, different times a day. Felt like I was being followed when I went out. Heard noises outside my apartment at night. Just small things, but they added up. Made me feel constantly on edge, like I was being watched all the time. I knew it was him, Spectre. He was stalking me, both online and in real life. He had gotten into my head, made me paranoid and scared. I felt trapped. Didn't know what to do. Couldn't go to the police. What would I even tell them? Some guy on the dark web is stalking me? They'd laugh me out of the station. I decided I had to disappear. Deleted my forum account, changed all my passwords, wiped my computer and phone, factory reset everything. Got a new phone, new laptop, new internet connection. Moved to a different part of town, didn't tell anyone where I was going. Basically went off the grid. It was hard, man, like starting over, but slowly things started to calm down. The weird stuff stopped. The feeling of being watched faded. I think I actually managed to shake them off. I hope so anyway. I'm posting this here as a warning to you guys, to anyone who's thinking about venturing into the dark web. It's not a game. There are some seriously messed up people out there. People who are smart, who are dangerous, who can mess with your life in ways you can't even imagine. Don't be curious. Don't click on shady links. Don't talk to strangers online, especially not on those kinds of forums. It's not worth it. You think you're anonymous, you think you're safe behind your screen, but you're not. These people can reach you. They can get to you. And once they do, it's a nightmare to get away. Learn from my mistake, Anons. Stay safe out there. And for the love of God, stay away from the dark web. It's not worth the risk. Trust me on this one. I barely got out and I'm still looking over my shoulder. Don't let this happen to you. I was driving from one side of the country to the other, moving for a new job, a long haul, a couple of days on the road. Started off pretty normal, gas station coffee, bad radio stations, the usual highway boredom. First day was uneventful, just miles of asphalt and generic roadside scenery. Slept in a cheap motel, ready to hit the road again early. Second day, that's when things started to get weird. About mid-morning, I started seeing them. Dead animals on the side of the road. Nothing too unusual at first, just the occasional squirrel or raccoon flattened by cars, sad but normal. Didn't think much of it, just kept driving. But then they started becoming more frequent and bigger. Saw a dead deer, then another one a few miles later. Then a fox, its fur matted with blood, twisted at an unnatural angle. Okay, I thought, maybe there's been some kind of accident, or maybe it's just a bad stretch of road. Still tried not to think too much about it. But it kept escalating. The animals weren't just squirrels and raccoons anymore. Started seeing bigger stuff. Hawks, their wings broken and mangled, lying in the ditch. A coyote, its body stiff and bloated, right on the edge of the shoulder. Something felt off. Really off. This wasn't normal roadkill. There was just too much of it. Too many, too close together, too consistently dead. And the condition of the animals. It was disturbing. They weren't just hit by cars in the usual way. Some of them looked crushed, like something heavy had rolled over them. Others looked like they had been I don't even know how to describe it, like they had been deliberately targeted, not just accidentally hit. The air started to feel heavy too. The sky was clear blue, sun was shining, but there was this weird oppressive feeling, like something was watching, something unseen and not good. I cranked up the radio, tried to distract myself, but the images of those dead animals kept flashing in my mind. Then I saw it. Parked on the shoulder of the road up ahead, just past a curve, a pickup truck. Old, beat up, dark color, maybe black or dark gray, hard to tell in the sunlight. Nothing particularly remarkable about it at first glance, just an old truck. But something about it made my stomach clench. As I got closer, I slowed down instinctively. There was no one around the truck, no other cars, just the empty highway and the woods on either side. And then I saw what was in the bed of the truck, covered with a tarp, but not completely. I could see shapes, lumps under the tarp, shapes that looked like animal bodies. My heart started pounding. This was it, wasn't it? This was the source of all the dead animals. This truck. Someone was doing this deliberately. But why? What kind of sicko goes around killing animals like this? I was about to drive past, just keep going, try to forget I ever saw it. But then, as I got closer, the driver's side door of the truck started to open, slowly, creakingly, like in a horror movie. I instinctively hit the brakes, almost skidding to a stop. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. A figure stepped out of the truck. Tall, thin, wearing a dark, long coat even though it wasn't cold. Hat pulled low over their face, couldn't see their features. Just a dark shape emerging from the dark truck. They turned slowly, deliberately, and looked right at me. Even with the hat shadowing their face, I felt like they were staring directly into my soul. They didn't move, didn't say anything, just stood there by the open truck door watching me. The silence was deafening. The only sound was the hum of my engine and the distant whisper of the wind, and the feeling of dread growing stronger with every second. I was frozen, couldn't move, couldn't speak. Just stared back at this figure, paralyzed by a fear I couldn't explain. It wasn't just fear of physical harm, it was something deeper, something primal. Like I was looking at something unnatural, something wrong. Then, slowly, deliberately, the figure reached into the truck bed, under the tarp. They pulled something out. Something long and heavy. Couldn't see what it was clearly, but it looked like a piece of wood. A club. Something blunt and brutal. They held it in their hand, raised it slightly, and just stood there watching me. The message was clear. This wasn't just about dead animals. This was about something else. Something directed at me. My brain finally kicked back into gear. This was insane. I had to get out of there. I slammed my foot on the gas pedal, tires squealing, and swerved around the truck back onto the highway. Didn't look back, just drove. Faster and faster, adrenaline pumping, heart hammering in my chest. I kept looking in my rearview mirror, expecting to see the truck chasing me. But it wasn't there. Just empty road behind me. But the feeling of being watched, the feeling of dread that stayed with me, it's still with me now, even as I write this. I drove for hours, didn't stop until I was miles and miles away in a crowded town surrounded by people and noise and light. Even then, I couldn't shake the feeling. The image of that truck, that figure, those dead animals, it was burned into my mind. I don't know what that truck was or who was driving it or why they were doing what they were doing. Maybe it was just some crazy animal abuser, but it felt like more than that. It felt ritualistic. Like those dead animals were offerings or warnings, or something even worse. I haven't seen any more dead animals since I got away from that stretch of road, but I still see that truck in my nightmares. That dark figure standing by the side of the road, holding that club staring right at me. I don't know what I stumbled into out there, but I know I don't want to find out. And I'm never driving that road again. Ever. Just thinking about it sends chills down my spine. Be careful out there on the open road, Anons. Some things you see you can't unsee, and some roads you just shouldn't travel.